This is the Nerdy Things Podcast. This podcast contains strong language, adult themes, and poorly developed ideas. We apologize for nothing. Listener discretion is advised.
Triple Xbox One X, the return of Xander Cage.
Mario is a dinosaur.
All of your E3 news.
All that and more in this week's episode. Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 18 of the Nerdy Things Podcast. I am one of our hosts, Kevin, and I'm joined, as always, by Jules. Hi, Jules.
Heyo.
And by Tim. Hey, Tim.
Hey, what's up?
And we have a special guest this week. Is it Alistair? Is that right?
You got it.
Alistair.
Yes, sir.
I don't believe
from
you.
Bite Size Lemons.
It says Alistair.
Well, you know, I got it for my birthday. A lot has changed since then.
Good call.
Cool. So yeah, Alistair from the Bite Size Lemons podcast.
Nailed it.
It's plural, Jules. Get it right.
Yeah, there's just a bunch of lemon stuff going on. We had a whole thing yesterday. So yeah, welcome, Alistair.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Glad you can join us for this big episode. We're going to talk about all the news, E3 stuff, heroes. We're going to have our favorite heroes at the very end, at the back end of the podcast. And let's start it off with a review from iTunes. So thank you, everybody. Everybody's been talking to us and about us, the Nerdy Things Podcast. You can follow us online at Nerdy Things Pod, Nerdy Things Pod, and you can subscribe on iTunes, Google Play, anywhere that you find podcasts. So we have an iTunes review that I'm going to read here. This is by RFR Podcast. They're nice enough to leave us a review. It's called Nerdy Necessity. If you like nerdy stuff, this podcast is for you. The hosts have great chemistry, interesting take on pop culture. Definitely worth listening to. So thank you to everybody that's left a review. We are almost out of reviews. We've read almost all of them. So please, if you want yours read, I was going to say ridden.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right on over to the iTunes Nerdy Things Podcast, and you can find all of our episodes there, new episodes on Thursday, and all of that stuff. So what do we do for E3? I know I did something. I talked about the Ubisoft thing on our Patreon, and Tim, you did something too, right?
Yeah, I gave a little blurb on the Nintendo presentation yesterday, which was action-packed. Kevin and I did a Facebook Live event, which is still up on our Facebook, so feel free to go watch us watch Nintendo's E3 presentation.
Yep, that went well. Hopefully our boss never sees that.
Yeah, maybe he will, maybe he won't. We had some good guest appearances, though. Co-workers, people in the building showing up. That was fun. We had a horse.
A floating horse's head. It was kind of awesome.
It happens.
So yeah, that's on our Facebook. They did a Facebook Live. Tim did a thing on our Patreon, patreon.com/nerdythingspod. And there's some extra stuff there. If you want to become a patron, please think about donating to us. And we keep putting out a lot more content. If we get 3 more patrons, we only need 3 more. And we have to do a Hook commentary track.
Get to do a Hook commentary. We are very excited about it. It is one of my all-time favorite movies. I could probably quote it for you, but that just means I'll be ready for my commentary when the lines come. It is exciting. We can't wait to do it. So please give us your money so we can do that for you. It would be awesome. Just a little bit of money, just like $1 a piece per month. That's nothing. It's a 4-piece nuggets at Wendy's. It's a taco, I think, too. You can still get a taco for $1.
Important question.
What's that?
Alistair, what side are you on? Are you a Hook fan? Or do you like the movie Hook with Robin Williams? Or what are your feelings on that?
Doing an audio commentary of Hook is absolutely an obligation and not an opportunity.
It is the gift of a lifetime,
absolutely.
You guys.
We have, I'm going to be putting up a shirt on our TeePublic account soon that just says, I think Hook is just okay. So
Boom.
You can buy that. That's perfect. It's great.
I'll take 3. Give me 3 of those.
They're going to be a limited edition. I'm going to buy all of the limited edition and burn them in my backyard. And then I will record that for our patrons.
Better than a Hook commentary.
Perfect.
There you go. Yeah. All that stuff, you can find us we're everywhere. We're on the internet at Nerdy Things Pod on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, and all that. We have a ton of stuff that we need to talk about right now. So let's get into it. The nerdy news section.
Nerdy news.
At 6 o'clock. All right. It was a bit of a sad week again this week. We had, let's start off with the worst news of the week. Adam West, Batman, dead at age 88.
Yeah, man. He you know, he's doing a bunch of that's sort of his thing. It was like he was known for being campy and being really funny, and a lot of fans and just pretty much everybody in general loved him, and I think he was a very good person in general. He would always go to a lot of Comic-Cons and all that, and just people are like, hey, I just want to say hey, and he's super, just a joy to be around.
Yeah, he was very much that like 1950s, just really jovial, happy guy, both in person and on screen. I don't think that was really an act. I think that was who and what he was.
Yeah, seemed like a nice guy. Certainly looked physically fit for a man of that age. Very impressive. That he could be 88 and still look like he could kick someone's ass. That was pretty cool.
Yeah, like that fisticuffs, steak and eggs for breakfast every day type of, again, 1950s fit.
Mm-hmm. So it was very sad when I think I woke up and it was like pretty early when they announced it, and I was just like, no, what's going on? That's crazy. Like, you just always kind of think that some people are just going to live forever and you don't want to hear the end of it, and it was just really sad. And you saw everybody on Twitter and Facebook and all that just showing their sentiment towards the family and everybody that knew him and all that.
Yeah, I thought it was an April Fool's joke. I Googled it. I went to Snopes, and I was so sad that it was true.
88 is like a good innings, but it's just good that he got to, experience all the fans that he did. And he was always so gracious to, the younger generation, the older generation, everyone who watched it, the kids and the parents alike. So
yeah,
good
absolutely.
that he has that legacy.
And he was the mayor of Quahog. How cool is that?
That he was.
Yeah.
What a way to go out. You start as Batman, you become mayor, everybody's happy.
That's the dream. That is the dream.
Yeah, that's what I'm striving for in my career, to break out as Batman and then end up a mayor of somewhere.
Yeah, well, it was good.
Even a fictional town.
Bad news for DC with Batman passing, but good news for DC with Wonder Woman doing as well as it has done. Wonder Woman had a $57 million weekend last weekend. Another great weekend for them. It was much less of a drop-off than any other movie that DC has put out recently. Superman had a 68% drop. Suicide Squad was a 67% drop. And Man of Steel was 65%. And I think Wonder Woman was only like 45%. So it's going strong. It's going good. I think it's going to, really contend for top spot for DC so far.
And 60-65 isn't like just for bad movies. That's relatively, when you have 100+ million opening, it's fairly typical to drop off 55-65%, even if it's, Guardians of the Galaxy or something like that. 45% is actually exceptional, and it's pretty much in line with what we talked about last week, because people, I think, were a little bit hesitant to see it in the first place. It was a female lead, not to be sexist, but that just doesn't, for a comic book movie, draw the same way. This was also the first comic book movie ever that had a majority female audience. So that right there tells you, that guys were a little bit hesitant to make it their big weekend opening thing, but because it was so good, they went to see it second week and came in droves, as it were.
Yeah, and after this, it seems like they are doing more reshoots on Justice League than they were originally planning, now that Joss Whedon's at the helm.
Yeah, so more Wonder Woman, maybe? Like more of her, more scenes with her? I mean, totally. I would,
hopefully.
I'd be happy with that.
Flesh her out a little bit, make her more of a character. I could see them doing exactly that, ride that wave.
Yeah, we even talked about it last week, how it's just a movie that anybody can go see, that you don't really need to know about the DCEU, and I think word got around that, like, hey, you want to go see Wonder Woman? And it's like, I don't know, I don't really watch these movies or whatever. And it's like, no, you don't need to. And it's like, oh, okay, let's all go see it, and I'll see it again, definitely, and all that stuff. So I think that's a lot of it too, is how good of a movie it is, and that you don't need to know any of that stuff, and you don't need to know anything about the bigger picture.
No, it's good when a movie does that. Like, I feel like this is almost like a soft reboot for them, where because it was a prequel, they didn't have to worry, and they can sort of onboard people at that point very easily.
Patty Jenkins, the director, she is not signed on for Wonder Woman 2, just because DC didn't really think to do that, because they were just kind of like, well, I'll see how this movie goes.
Right.
She's going to get such a big paycheck for Wonder Woman 2. It's insane.
See, I think that's a trap. I don't know that they're going to, like, play ball. I don't know that they would give it to her if she asked for too much.
Really?
It's DC. They make bad decisions.
They sure do. I've heard rumors that during their original, like, board meeting viewing of Batman v Superman, there was a standing ovation, which is not good. Because they loved that movie, and they didn't like Wonder Woman, and it's like, guys, come on.
No, and that's exactly it. Like, I mean, there were all those rumors that Wonder Woman, the test screenings and everything were terrible for Wonder Woman, and I didn't have high hopes because of that. And they did one reshoot for this, and that was it. And it was a spectacular movie. I mean, it wasn't groundbreaking. It hit all the beats. We kind of went over this last week, but it was a good movie. So, you know, I just don't think that they really have their finger on the pulse of what is good and what isn't.
I think hopefully this large paycheck they're getting is going to change that. $500,000 or $500 million is pretty good excuse.
Yeah. Yeah, and hopefully they can turn that into more good movies in the future and more good decisions, the way Marvel does and the way that they're sort of branching out a little bit and still able to, what are we, 12, 14 movies in, something like that, still able to have movies where you don't have to know the whole story to be able to enjoy the movie, like they've done with Guardians and like it looks like they're doing with the Black Panther trailer, which arrived this week.
God damn it. He just does it real quick, and it's just like, whoa, we're in a different... Black Panther trailer, yes, it looked very good. I know on the most recent episode of Bite Size Lemons, Alistair, I know you talk a little bit about this trailer on the most recent episode, and it was really good. I mean, I don't know, does anybody have any objections to it not looking good or looking amazing or beautiful or anything?
I think it looks amazing. I think the story looks acceptable. If at the worst, I think it looks amazing to me. I love the fact that they've sort of pulled the wool over everybody's eyes and made the world think that they are not, you know, as advanced as they are, and that they just have all this technology for some reason.
Yeah, that's super interesting, and I'm curious how it's going to play out, and I'm ready for what comes from Black Panther. I mean, I don't really know a whole lot, and I'm sure not a lot of people know a whole lot either. I mean, they will, and kind of like Guardians of the Galaxy, it's just like, I don't care yet, and then they're going to make you care, and that's fantastic.
Right, but to Marvel's credit, their bank, like, they have enough in the bank with me, they have enough credit that I can look at this and say, I don't understand how they have this technology. I don't understand how they've done this, and yet instead of being like, I'm calling bullshit, I'm in. I want to see how they explain it because I know they will, or if they don't, it won't matter.
Yeah, Marvel is built. We were talking about this on the podcast, so I think a little bit. Kevin and I talked about this off the podcast. You know, Marvel, there's really not any question. You're just, it's a Marvel movie. I'm going to go see it because, of course, it's going to be good until they make a bad one, which Kevin doesn't think they're ever going to do. But that's like my whole opinion is the end of Marvel or this. Once there's a crack, then they'll open themselves up to criticism. But right now, there's no cracks. Every movie's been really good.
Right, and the caveat on they will never is that with the current people in charge, I don't think they can. I don't think they can make a bad movie that would get through the checks that they have in place to put out movies.
I would argue they've already made a handful of bad ones within the nearly 24 that there are. Like, personally, Iron Man 3 is one of the worst.
But one of the worst of great movies.
Certainly.
I don't think that makes it a bad movie. I think it still makes it a very good movie.
Oh, no, I meant one of the worst movies of all time.
Oh, that's a bad call.
I hate
Shots
that
fired.
movie.
Why?
The movie's
I love
awful.
that movie. That is a good movie.
Oh, my gosh. All right,
we're going
to have to agree to disagree there.
No, we don't have to agree to disagree at all.
We can agree to agree, or we can disagree like, you motherfucker, I'm going to come over there and kill you.
It wasn't their strongest.
Let's disagree. Why was it so bad?
No.
Well, okay, I'll use Iron Man 1 technology, use Iron Man 3 technology, and we'll see how that goes.
Okay, I'll be in my living room kicking your ass by remote.
He's Tony Stark.
You'll have a glove, and I'll have 5 Iron Man suits
that are made in a garage.
Yeah. The problem I really had with that movie is the Mandarin reveal was fine at first, and then they made him a real idiot, which was kind of upsetting to me. And then the whole whatever the virus was that made people breathe fire and regrow limbs was a little not Iron Man-y to me. It felt more Guardians of the Galaxy or something that wasn't as grounded as the rest of this movie wanted to be.
No, I give you that. You know what? It wasn't the most realistic of all the movies, but I still like it. It's in a comic book universe. He fights the Mandarin. The Mandarin has magic. In this, he doesn't. I'm willing to give it a pass. Like, you may be right. It's not the best movie ever made. I do like the movie because I weigh it on its own merits. It's a comic book movie. It knows what it is. It knows what it's doing, and it hit those beats. I can't fault it. It gave us a huge action scene at the end with like 50 different Iron Man suits, and he's jumping in and out of them, and then, you know, they all blow up. I love it. You know, it sort of resets everything. It takes that power creep, pulls it back in, reins it in, and then lets him progress in the next couple of movies.
And the president was in an Iron Man suit, that kind of thing as well.
Yeah.
I think Iron Man 1, for me, I'll be real quick. The Iron Man 1 was anti-terrorism to me, and that was from both points of view. And then Iron Man 2 was, you know, a family rivalship. I think the third one just felt like nothing to me. It didn't feel like a passion project for anyone.
Yep.
Just personally.
Yeah. It was a love story.
Didn't they split up at the end?
Between fans and Marvel.
How many romantic comedies, all of them, involve the couple splitting up?
In the middle of the movie.
True. It's just not over yet. You think the movie's over.
I thought you were going to say how many romantic comedies involve a Iron Man suit.
Most of them.
One.
Guys, I don't know what rom-coms you're watching, but all the ones I watch have Iron Man suits in them.
They should, but they don't. No. See, this is just taking a little intermission. They're going to come back and finish that love story. It's going to be great. It's the sequel you never saw coming, like Mary Poppins Return.
You'll see.
They're broken up forever. They're personally broken up forever. I don't think Cap and Iron Man are getting back together, but it's all right. Anyway.
Yeah. All right. Yeah,
I'd
we gotta roll through these because.
So yeah, 50 years later, Mary Poppins releasing a sequel. Music next December. Lin-Manuel. I'm in. I'll see it. It looks Disney. It looks interesting. We've got a couple of storyboards and behind the scenes shots of it, but it's enough to pique my interest.
Yeah. I mean, we got some more Mary Poppins with the Guardians of the Galaxy, so
True.
I mean that's cool.
Yeah, they're slowly peppering it in, trying to gauge people's reactions.
But yeah, I mean, I don't think anybody's saying no on this either. It's something pretty interesting that's come a little late or just that right time, you know, because it can come way too late, or like they could have done it way too early and it would have been like, oh, really? We're doing this?
There is a timing issue with things like this. You know, it's been too long. Like the other one that we have on the list to talk about is the Bumblebee movie that they're setting in the 80s. I don't care about a Transformers spinoff. The time for this has passed. If you want a Bumblebee spinoff, you should have given me this after the first Transformers movie.
Right.
If you give me this now, it feels like you're grasping because we're now 5 movies deep. And I haven't really given a shit about any of them since the first one.
Yeah, after the first or the second one, and it would have been like, oh, okay, interesting. I want to see what Bumblebee's about or whatever. But now that it's 5 and it's like, oh, I don't know. I really don't want to see Transformers. And they're going to make this other one to try and recapture what they had, I think. I think that's their idea. Let's put it in the 80s. People love the 80s, right? People love Bumblebee, right? Let's do it. And I think that's what they're trying to do.
And it's going to suffer from the same thing that I complain about with every prequel. Bumblebee's going to live through it, but there's going to be a moment where he's in peril and you're supposed to feel like he's going to die, and he's not going to die. You know
Alternate universe, yeah.
Well, no. that's exactly it. All of the Transformers movies.
It's going to suffer from being a Transformers movie.
True enough. So we should shoot it now. But all of the Transformers movies, like all of the X-Men movies, take place in a different reality than all of the other movies in that series. And I just don't think you should do that. Either make them look completely different and show me it's a different movie that just like James Bond, it's just a different dude and we're just telling you a story that doesn't connect, or make them connect. These are two ideas that you can't do both. Stop trying.
Bring Shia LaBeouf back. Let him be in the Bumblebee movie.
No.
Yes.
Thank you, though.
Crazy
no.
Shia.
Just do it.
That's what I need.
But no, you know what? I'm depressed. I need some good news. What happened this week in E3, guys? Bottom line it for me.
Oh man, so much happened.
People showed video games.
Perfect. That's all I need to
And
know. Bye.
that's the entire show. Thanks, guys.
That's what we've been pushing the whole time. Everybody, come listen to this episode. We're going to talk about E3. People showed games. All right.
All right. Peace out.
Well, he said bottom line.
Yeah,
That is
true.
the bottom line.
So there's a ton of stuff that happened at E3. I don't know, Alistair, if you've been following it a whole lot. We have a ton of stuff. There was a ton of press conferences that we talked about. Again, we already said Tim did a talk on Patreon. I did a talk on Patreon. They did their live reactions to Nintendo. Let's get to Nintendo last. Let's talk Microsoft. Microsoft is going to have backwards compatibility for Xbox One X. The Xbox One X. It's no longer Scorpio.
The return of Xander Cage.
Which I would rather have a console called Scorpio, to be honest.
I feel like that every time the console name leaks, is that the leaked name was better than the actual console name.
Well,
Always.
N64 was called Dolphin. I don't know.
I love it.
Almost all.
Yo.
love
Dolphin smooth.
I'll take 5.
Yeah, that Nintendo Dolphin, though. That's so much better.
Absolutely.
I don't know, dude. When N64 came out, I was 14. I don't know if I would have been running to the store to buy the Dolphin the same way I was the N64. It was pretty cool.
No, that's true.
I'll go buy a dolphin right
If I could
now.
afford a real dolphin,
Not
I'd get a
Nintendo
swimming pool
dolphin.
and I'd, buy a dolphin. But as a video
There we
game
go.
system goes,
Now we're talking.
I'm not so sure.
But as far as this system, I would rather have like it would be Scorpio, and it would come out like maybe it would have like a little snake or something as the emblem or whatever, instead of goddamn 3 X's.
Why wouldn't it
In
be
the
a
name.
Scorpion?
That is
I didn't.
Well, I will agree in this
Why
case,
would it be
Scorpio
a
is far
snake?
superior. I don't know why that was a project name and not the real name. Everybody knows Scorpio at this
Yeah.
point if you follow video games. I don't think there's really any reason to change this one because Xbox X, why is it with Microsoft and counting? Why is it that they have zero ability to count? It's no wonder they price their systems
it's
at like
tough.
$700 when the competition is doing the
They
same
can't
thing
count,
for $300. They're like, well, isn't $700 just like $1 more than $300?
Oh my God, that's exactly it. They're rich and they've lost touch
They
with
can't
reality.
count.
We need
Like
to bring them
1,
back. We need to rein them in.
360, 110. Yeah, that's how you get.
That sounds all right. Yeah.
Nailed it.
But yeah, in actuality, this is the most powerful console ever, and they even had T-shirts at their press conference to give people on the back. They said, "I witnessed the most powerful console ever," and that was pretty cult-like. And it was pretty funny to see the picture of it, just to see everybody in the same shirt, and it said, "I witnessed the most powerful console ever." Some cool stuff. It's going to be, I guess, true 4K and all that stuff for some of the games. Some of them are going to be made specifically for the Xbox One X engine. That was a very hard sentence to say.
It's going to be hard from now on to say anything related to this because of that.
Yeah. I'm just going to, the Triple X. There you go.
The Xander
Triple X.
Cage.
Yeah.
Ayo.
The Triple X is going to have liquid cooling in there. It's going to be pretty cool. It's mostly going to be 60 frames per second. Still, some of the games are not going to be optimized for the Triple X. And I read some stuff.
Well, I imagine the graphics intensive ones like Minecraft in 4K are really going to tax that engine.
It's gonna be rough.
Hell yeah.
So, yeah, I get it. I mean, really.
But yes, that's the most powerful console ever, but still you can build your own PC for probably less than that and get the same whatever. Why are people still hooked on to consoles? Why are they still trying to game on consoles if PC is the master race?
No, I get it because it's simple. Because when you have a computer, when you try to install software, we saw that when we were trying to get this podcast together today, trying to get everybody on disparate systems to get the same software running is tough. And when you build a computer, someone's going to have a processor that does X and can't do Y, and you're going to have a video card that does this and can't do that. So I get it. You want to have the best performance. You want to simplify it. You buy a console. You want that on a computer. You buy a Mac. It is what it is. I mean, that's what the point is. They're trying to simplify it, and frankly, for the most part, they do a damn good job at it.
Yeah.
It's user friendly.
Well, optimization is one of the keys to game performance anyways. You can, say, well, if it has this much power, I can do this, and this. And then if there's a variation by 1/nth of a degree on the individual computers, they don't run the game the way it was intended to run. But if you're building it for Xbox One X, PS4, you know specifically what you need to optimize it for, what the system is good with, what it's not good with, and exactly what resources you're working with. Case in point, I mean, it's a different game, and we're talking about photorealistic graphics. Obviously, you're going to Xbox One or PS4, but look at Super Mario Odyssey on the Switch. This is a tablet, essentially, that they're building this for, and that game is gorgeous. And part of why it looks so good, A, they're not shooting for photorealism. It's a different art style. But B, they're working with this specific system that they've optimized the hell out of already, making just a really incredible looking game that runs spot on 60 frames per second all the time. Optimization is key. So I get why these consoles exist. I don't understand why they're out in arms race anymore. Because they can reintroduce a console every 2 years that's going to be more powerful. It's not like we need this big cycle that we needed before. Make games that play well, not that look great. I mean, that's why, according to our polls and a lot of other things, Nintendo won E3.
Yeah, we'll get into that. But there was another tweet that I thought was really funny by @Moonjam, and this is from it says Microsoft, like they're saying, Xbox One X has an 8-core processor and 12 gigabytes of, and then Nintendo bursts in, you throw your hat on a frog and you're the frog, and the crowd explodes. And that just kind of sums it up, I think. Just like they're trying to do this whole power console thing and trying to win you over with all this power. And yeah, some people are going to be on board. And we heard a lot at Nerdy Things Pod on Twitter about how people are siding with Microsoft, and I'll read the tweets later, but overall, a lot of people really just want good games, and they don't care about what's going on under the hood or what you can do. And I don't know which is better. Some people have their own opinions on which is better, but I think for most of us, I think we're siding with Nintendo on that kind of whole building games, building good games and stuff.
Well, I was talking to one of the guys I work with yesterday about couch co-op and the death of couch co-op. I would much rather have a system I can play with my friends than a system that I only can play online and only if I have people that have the same game that I like playing with.
But Kevin, we're not millennials. We have friends that we interact with in real life.
Yeah, me and Alistair, we don't talk to anybody.
No. Actually, Jules went to brunch this week. He was brunching with the boys this week.
Yeah. Oh shit.
Brunch.
You look at my stuff.
I was proud of you, man. I love brunch.
Yeah.
If I'm ever over there in San Antonio, we're gonna brunch it up. I'm telling you.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. And Alistair, I'm going to Austin sometime this summer with my band, so definitely we'll brunch boys over there.
Absolutely. What do you guys think about the price, the $4.99 price tag?
I actually think it sounds pretty reasonable. Like it's more expensive than the Switch.
I totally agree. People are freaking out about it.
I can throw that down on a game on a system if I'm going to play it.
What did the PS4 launch at?
But
it was $399, right?
Yeah, they're still going like about 100 over all the all the other stuff.
It's several years later. One of the problems, the reason why they have sold such significantly less than the PS4 with the Xbox One was that they overshot the price, and they're doing the exact same thing. So I don't know if this is what it cost them to build it, but if this is what it cost them to build it, they should have made a less powerful console, because I think they're overshooting the market price-wise. As long as PS4 can deliver games that are just as fun and look almost as good for a lot less money, they're not going to gain the traction that they want to gain.
They did announce it was going to be backwards compatible, so you can play all your old stuff. So that might be like, oh, we're having it at this price point. Here's an amazing console and backwards compatibility for almost everything.
It was a smart move.
But with all the exclusives and everything, they're hoping that the people that buy it are the people that need this and that want to play the games and that have that money because they're either working or they live in their mom's basement, and so they have disposable income. It's, if they did price it less, they may sell more and make more money, but it's all about that cost analysis to them, and they think they're going to make the most money this way, and they probably will.
The Xbox One, the first one was $499 as well upon release, and I remember back in like 2007 when the 360 Elite came out, it was like $450, $470, something crazy like that. And I waited probably a year, 2 years even, till it came down to $3 something. And I think that might happen again, especially because this one's $500.
Yeah, I think they're blowing it with the pricing, to be honest with you.
When I can get a Switch, something that I know what games are going to be on there that are really cool and new because I don't have that thing already, and it's going to be new and fresh for me. It's like, well, I can just get a Switch. But we're going to get into that. Bethesda, what's some cool stuff that came out of Bethesda? They had a whole Bethesda land there, which was pretty cool to see over at E3. I think the only thing really was Fallout, the stuff over there. Fallout 4 VR.
Yeah, I mean, they announced Wolfenstein 2, the new Colossus stuff, and the Doom VR, all the Legend of Zelda stuff for Skyrim.
I think they're doing Skyrim VR too, aren't they?
I thought I saw that somewhere.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, there was definitely that too. I mean, it was a lot of neat stuff. I'm not, I guess, a big fan of Bethesda for the most part. Like I want to be. I used to be huge in playing Quake when I was back in college for that 1 year that I went. It was my lifeblood at that point, and I haven't been able to do anything with Quake since Quake 3 because that was terrible. I don't know. None of this really excites me from Bethesda.
A lot of the stuff that I see and I saw at E3 was, well, something that caught my eye that made me, aware of it. There was a lot of lean on competitiveness and the competitive side of gaming and stuff like that. And with, like you were saying, with Quake and some other games and everybody else's press conferences other than like Nintendo really, or Sony had a bunch of cool games to show, but like there was a sort of a focus, sort of an eye towards competitive gameplay. And we were talking about it before on another podcast about how gaming is becoming this whole thing where you can watch it being played competitively, and that's a lot more people are going competitive route, and people want the new Xbox because they want to be able to compete in whatever so and so on Twitch or whatever. And I really was okay with that because they're kind of catering to what people are doing with games now. And I really enjoyed that, seeing that like, oh, they know what we're doing with these games. We're playing these online. That's all I do. We're playing these against each other. And I saw a lot of that. So that was pretty cool. Something I just thought of right now. Yeah.
No, I mean, that competitive, that's good, but you can't have just that. There has to be some of that co-op. There has to be some of that just fun, like puzzle game. And I feel like we're getting away from a lot of that, or at least from the high profile ones, if nothing else. And a lot of that stuff is being taken over by smaller developers and sort of garage enthusiasts. And it's not getting the same play and the same traction. Doesn't look as good, and it doesn't have to, but it's also not playing as well because they're not testing it. I don't know. I want more. I just want more. I always want more.
Greedy Kevin.
Right? Always. Stay away from my pie, Tim.
We talked a little bit about the I forgot to cover it, the Minecraft 4K stuff and the universal whatever it's going to be. You can play together on any system. I think Minecraft's any system, right? And PC?
Almost everyone.
Yeah, almost. And so is Rocket League.
Everyone except PS4.
Yeah.
You're not going to be able to play, I know from the Switch end, you won't be able to play with, if it's on PS4. I don't even know if it's on PS4, but I don't know if that's true the other way. It seems like Sony is declining all of this cross-platform play idea.
Why do you think? They just don't want to play with everybody else?
You can play it on the PS4, but you can't play with other consoles on the PS4. And they sent out a kind of tweet about that was like, we want to protect our people by keeping them in our community because that's our job. And it's like, people know what they're getting into. They're playing with people they've never met before. It's like that's not what they're worried about.
It's going to be the same thing with the Rocket League cross-platform play too. Sony declined. You will be able to play Rocket League on PC, Xbox, and Switch, but not PS4.
Yeah, I mean, the Rocket League one, I wish Sony would pick and choose, because you can't even really talk to people in Rocket League, can you? I think it's just the predefined emoji things that you can do. I don't know if anybody here has played Rocket League. I've played it on the PS4.
Yeah, I don't think there's much of a chat system there.
So, I mean, it's kind of a bullshit answer then from Sony on that. It's just that they don't want to play. That's all. They don't want to play ball.
Yeah.
Because especially the kings of protecting content is Nintendo. One of the biggest complaints that people have always had with Nintendo's online play system, and from the looks of it, what'll continue with their new one that they're going to charge you for, is they don't want you talking to other people. And they want to protect the, potential children that are playing and stuff like that. So, I mean, if Nintendo's involved, that Sony doesn't have that excuse. Let's put it that way.
Yep.
True.
Yeah.
I mean, for some Nintendo games, you can't even, show yourself streaming them or put a YouTube video of you playing them, and they're the biggest stickler, yeah. So that was just something I thought that happened.
I can't even name my Magikarp poop in Magikarp Jump. I mean, they're pretty thorough.
They covered all their bases with that one.
They saw you coming from a mile away on that one.
Yeah, Magikarp Jump is pretty fun.
I'm so disappointed.
The EA stuff, I'm not a big sports gamer, whatever. So they all look really cool.
Me neither.
What else?
You get Need for Speed Payback, which is a racing game. Cool.
Yeah,
it looks neat, looks interesting. I mean, I don't know much about Need for Speed anymore. I know it used to be just racing, and then I know they did a little bit more of a GTA thing with the last one, I think. But I don't know. None of the Battlefield or sports or anyone's really appeal to me on that. I think EA is adequate.
Yeah, they're doing their thing. They have their fanboys set out already to pick up the new NBA or the new whatever, and I mean that's cool. They want to keep doing that. Totally good for them. Just keep making more games, making the graphics better, and upping it up in performance wise. Totally cool. Fine.
They did have Anthem. That looked neat.
Anthem
I'm not going to run out and buy it, but it looked a little different. Same thing as a lot of other games, but a lot of ideas from other games put together into this. Mm-hmm. I'll try it. And Battlefront 2, which after the disappointment of Battlefront, I'm not rushing out and buying that either. Yeah, sorry, Star Wars. Love you.
It looked really cool, though. I will say that.
Yeah.
As somebody who didn't play the first Battlefront, it looked really cool. So I don't have kind of that bitterness in me, but it looked awesome.
Was it playing on the new XXX?
Yeah, probably. I don't even know.
Okay, that's why. That's why it looked really good.
It looked cool because Xander Cage was playing it. Vin Diesel was mashing buttons, and it was awesome.
They got Vin Diesel in.
Yes. It looks more reminiscent of old school Battlefront 2 than this new thing that was an excuse for a Star Wars game.
Yeah, exactly. But I mean, Ubisoft was which I think is good. Decent represented. They had the Raving Rabbids Mario. They had
that was super cool.
I mean that looks interesting. That might be the reason I buy a Switch.
Yeah, for sure, and that's coming pretty soon, I think.
August 29th.
Yep.
Yeah, that's coming up, and I did a whole talk about it on our Patreon, patreon.com/nerdythingspod. I covered almost everything over there, but yeah, Mario Rabbids Kingdom, it looks super solid. This whole game mechanic XCOM sort of mix up with Mario and Rabbids. I'm not a fan of Rabbids, but that's what can I do? But it's super interesting to see what Mario's doing, and that was the clear front runner for me, I think, other than all of the other stuff Nintendo's doing. But that game was super awesome at the Ubisoft E3 press conference.
That was crazy because that game was leaked before the Switch was revealed. It was amongst all the rumors. People were like, there was a couple of reporters or internet people that were like, there's gonna be a Rabbids Nintendo Mario crossover, and everybody's like, that is not happening. And why do people were like genuinely angry about this at first when it was leaked? They're like, what are they doing to us? Why would they do this? This is the worst idea, blah blah blah. And then of course the system gets announced, and then there's no crossover, and everybody's like, yeah, see, you suck, person on the internet that reports rumors, you're just guessing, this is no way this could ever be real. But the leaks or the rumors persisted, and I think it kind of eased people into it. Like, I almost think they potentially leaked it on purpose. Because I think if they just showed this game at E3, that initial vitriol would have overshadowed how good the game actually kind of looks. So I think they let everybody kind of get that out of their system, and then when they see it, they're like, oh, this is actually real, and you know what? It's kind of cool. And there was a lot of positive feedback amongst the Nintendo community about that game on the Ubisoft press conference. It was pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
Very nice. I think that's well, actually, I mean, they had Far Cry 5 and Beyond Good and Evil 2 and a bunch of other stuff from
Creed.
Ubisoft, but
Beyond Good and Evil 2 is a game that's like 15 years in the making, though, and there is a massive following and outcry for this game. Yeah. So that's actually, amongst people who are a fan of it, this is a huge announcement.
Yeah,
Beyond Good and Evil 2.
And something I was really happy about was the new South Park games that they announced, because the South Park game was super fun. I don't know if anybody played it, but definitely check that one out. It was not what I thought it would be and was super amazing. And I'm glad they're going to make another one and an app, another South Park game app as well, I think, which was super cool. And, I'm a fan.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't watched South Park since I was, 12, and it's sad that I can say that with a straight face because it's really been on that long. But
Kevin's old.
If it speaks to you. Yeah, are you kidding me? I was sitting here with a blanket earlier because my knees were cold.
And he crocheted himself.
Oh, when we were waiting to get started. Skull and Bones
not in
as
here.
well.
It's Star Wars.
Skull and Bones was a good game. The water is the most beautiful water I've ever seen in a video game, and I said it on the Patreon thing, whatever. Don't come at me with that. That is the most beautiful water you'll ever see in a video game. Skull and Bones coming soon to the XXX.
What about Wind Waker? There's so much water.
Borderline too much water.
Yeah.
Yes, and not a drop to drink.
7.6 out of 10. Too much water.
Alistair reviews, yeah.
Do you guys remember that IGN gave? Yeah, you remember that?
What?
No, what?
IGN gave the remakes of Ruby and Sapphire a 7.6 out of 10, and their entire reason was too much water.
Oh,
That's
boy.
it.
Jeez. Ruby
Terrible.
and Sapphire are good ones. They're not bad.
Anyway.
No.
Yeah, they're solid.
Yeah. If you want to hear more, that was Alistair's quick Pokemon throw-in. If you want to hear more of that, go to his podcast.
I know. I'm trying to hold back.
We had the Sony press conference, Destiny 2, Skyrim VR.
Is anybody still playing Destiny, though? Really?
No,
Destiny?
At least they shouldn't be. I gave it a miss.
I'm just sad about that. That could have been good.
Yeah,
but
they rushed it. They DC'd it,
Is that going to be the new verb for anything that just gets screwed up?
Yeah, they rushed it. I'm sorry,
They
DC'd it. Sorry. No, the big thing for me...
The Iron Man 3 did it.
This is,
Iron Man 3.
We were trying to get ready for the podcast today, and then we DC'd it, and we had to switch technology. It was a big mess.
But the big one for me from Sony, Spider-Man. I love Spider-Man. Marvel's Spider-Man video game is going to be great, and I love that it doesn't look like the movie. I love that it's a different
It's going to be a whole
on
different
Spider-Man.
thing, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's fine. Perfect. And it looks so much like Arkham from Batman with the gameplay and all that.
Yes.
And I am 100% behind that. I've thought that they should take elements from that for a lot of superheroes and make games out of them for a long time. And it looks like this one has the right elements from it to make it a good game. And I'm buying it second it comes out.
At NR5 on Twitter said he didn't like the quick time events and he wanted them to lose that part of it. And I had a sort of a discussion. He said it breaks the flow of the game, especially in a game like this. My opinion on that was that it did have a flow to it, but it definitely adds more to, your interaction with it. I think, that quick time, pressing the buttons or whichever button they prompt. And I think that adds to it because what he said, he would rather have a cutscene. I don't want a cutscene.
No.
That's personally for me.
I'd rather feel like I'm playing the game.
Yeah, what are y'all's thoughts on that little, God of War does it. A lot of other games do it. Like we were saying, the Batman series, whatever. And I really want to be in the game even when it's not, whatever. I don't want a cutscene there. What are y'all thoughts? Y'all's thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I'd rather play the game.
I see what he's talking about because... Yeah. I see what he's talking about especially because this looks so incredibly large. Like if you put a QuickTime event in Breath of the Wild or something, it would feel out of place. But it's kind of difficult to catch a crane with a limited amount of buttons.
Yeah, and the timing, like
I think it
you're
works
supposed to be
well.
a hero with this spider sense. You're supposed to know what's coming. How do you do that aside from this type of thing where you're being prompted? You've got reaction. Like that's testing you and immersing you in the game.
Yeah,
totally agree.
That's a super cool game. I saw the gameplay for it. That whole 8 to 10 minutes, I think it was, like that whole scene, that was fantastic.
It was like 9 minutes.
Yeah,
awesome.
It was so good, and it made you feel like a hero, which the Batman series makes you feel like you actually have these powers and you're actually one up of everybody else, but not too much, because you can feel like overpowered and it's like, oh, this is too easy, but there is just the right amount of you doing some cool stuff to being this Spider-Man whoever it is under the mask. So Sony really showed out with that. Shadow of the Colossus is coming back. It looks fantastic. The new God of War, Monster Hunter. A lot of people are fans of all these games. Horizon Zero Dawn, more DLC for that. And they really did show out with a bunch of games. Uncharted.
That was the one that confused me. Now, which one is Tom Holland playing in the movie? Which one of those two women is Tom Holland?
The younger one, whichever the younger one is.
Perfect.
He looks younger.
Yeah.
What about, did you guys see Miles Morales at the end?
Yeah.
That's
cool.
Pretty solid.
I'm in.
I wonder if you get to play him.
Maybe.
You will. It's going to be
shows
another
up, or if it's just
$39
like-
DLC, but you'll get to play him.
The interesting thing to me as somebody who focuses on Nintendo during E3, I try and keep up with whatever's going on in these other systems, but my head's usually in Nintendo. So normally what I hear is like what's screamed out from the other fan bases. And obviously, like outside of Nintendo, you're hearing a ton about Xbox One X because it's a new system. And I kept hearing how there was like 46 games announced for it and they have this huge game lineup, but I didn't really hear anybody going nuts about any one specific game. And then when it came to Sony, it was Spider-Man. It was Spider-Man. So like for me, this E3 was Nintendo and Spider-Man. Like that was what everybody was screaming about outside of all of the Nintendo games was Spider-Man. And that really stuck out to me. I was like that. So I went and checked the videos and it looks amazing. But out of all of these games that everybody was announcing, the only one that I really felt people were going nuts about was the Peter Spider-Man game. It was pretty cool.
So, but yeah, I mean, then there was the Nintendo one, which we did the Facebook Live video for, which not every game there is something I'd play, but every game there looked amazing. And it looked like it was all gameplay focused, and some of them looked like they were like couch co-op type focus. And this is exactly what I want. Like this is what I need from this.
Yeah, whereas Microsoft did focus on the whole power thing. We already said that. Sony had a lot of games. Nintendo had a lot of games. And it's just the type of gamer I think that you are and what you personally like. And for the 1 or 10%, they want a huge, powerful console. And for most of us, they just want to play a fun game, and they don't really care how to do it. They don't really care what they're holding, because I mean the Switch is a pretty powerful thing, under the hood to get all that stuff, but it's not the most powerful console, and I don't care. Everybody doesn't care. I want to play this new Mario Odyssey. It looks so fucking good, and I want a new Metroid game, Metroid 4. It just looks great. I don't know. It was super awesome.
I read something about like three teraflops on the Xbox, and I'm like, did you know that I can be a dinosaur in the new Mario game?
Yeah.
And the dinosaur looked cool. It was a good-looking T-Rex, right?
I don't know what a teraflop is, to be honest. It does. It looks pretty solid.
And it only took like a half a teraflop to get there, so...
It looks better in Jurassic Park, so...
Well, let's break the word down. Terra means Earth, and I have flip-flops, so it's just ground shoes.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, that's all.
So every Xbox comes with shoes. That's what I'm hearing.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Cool.
3 of them.
We need to put
Well, it's actually because they're called flip flops, and this is just flops. It's just one of them, so it's just the right shoe.
Three
right
X's. 3X is one shoe. I think that's a video I saw one time. No, maybe
no, it wasn't how it went. But yeah, Nintendo came at it pretty hard. I mean, I go on the Nintendo Switch subreddit like a couple of times a day just to get news and stuff like that. And people have been like clamoring for Rocket League. Like there's that subreddit is like 1/3 actual news or game information and 2/3 Nintendo needs to give us this game. And it's like some obscure game that like only that person cares about, but Nintendo needs to give it to us because that will sell the system. But I will say there was like a massive amount of people that were all like, do you think we might get Rocket League? Do you think we might get Rocket League? Do you think we might get Rocket League? And then within 30 seconds of the press conference, they're showing footage of Rocket League. And, so they know how to just like get people hyped right off the bat. They hadn't even said anything yet. And they're showing this game that people are like going nuts for. And then, Reggie came out and everybody's body was Reggie. And he started talking about the really cool stuff. They hit all the good marks. They showed us a bunch of stuff coming in 2018. The big thing being Metroid. Now, Kevin and I went nuts for Metroid. I don't know, Alistair, Jules, Metroid fans. How does this sit with you?
Yeah, big Metroid fan. I haven't played. I mean, I guess it makes sense, but I haven't played since the last one. I haven't picked it up since then, and I'm excited to get back into it. It's been, has it been 3 years almost or more?
More than that, well more than, because there was no Metroid game on Wii U. So we're going back to Wii.
Yeah, well, that's true, yeah. So was it Corruption was the last one?
I think so.
Oh my gosh, it was 10 years ago.
I was going to say, it's been closer to 7 to 10 years.
That's awesome.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it's been a long time, and I think that was the big thing, is like Metroid fans feel like the redheaded stepchild of Nintendo fan bases because the games just don't sell as well. Like back in the NES day, the first Metroid game was huge, sold a bunch of copies. Super Metroid did pretty well, but I don't know, Metroid Primes were never like the 2 million, 3 million sellers that the worst Zelda game is. So it's almost like we feel a little left out, and that's part of why I think it's been so long since we got the last new Metroid iteration.
Yep.
And so now we're actually getting two. We're getting the 3DS version and a Switch version, two different stories, which is going to be great. I mean, people were always divided on handheld versus system Metroid, and now we don't have to.
So now we're getting two handheld because of the Switch.
Exactly.
Well, that's also true.
Definitely,
so
all
it's like
the other
2.5,
stuff.
really.
Nintendo, just go watch what they're putting out. Super excited for Odyssey, and definitely probably gonna pull the trigger on a Switch very soon when I come back from LA. So
Mario Odyssey looks amazing. I don't know if you guys watched the gameplay on it at all.
Yes,
it's so clever. Like you can roll now to get places faster, which is kind of cool.
You go 2D.
You can throw this hat. Yeah, you can go like a la Zelda, whatever that 3DS game was called. You can throw your hat at anything and it interacts with it in some way, but you can turn into these other things, walk around like that. There's gonna be a multiplayer element to this.
Really?
Yeah, Nintendo said officially there will be multiplayer. They haven't said how that's going to work yet, but there is going to be, whether it's online or just local or both, we don't know yet, but there is going to be a multiplayer aspect of it. It was just super, the gameplay devices looked really clever. It looked new. It's the first kind of, I think, new exciting 3D Mario game since Galaxy, which was, again, we're approaching 10 years ago probably. Not far off from that if I had to guess. So it's definitely something that's been a long time in the making, but the little details in the environments, the environmental noise, the details of Mario's character animation are well above and beyond anything we've seen from them before, and it just looks like it's going to be an absolute blast to play.
I can't wait.
For sure. We had the big question over on Twitter at NerdThingsPod, and that was a poll that we had. Who took E3 this year? And we had 49 votes with a 24% Sony, 27% said Microsoft, and 49% said Nintendo. And there were some comments by, let's see here, at awkward_podcast. He said there's a lot of great games coming, but I feel like Sony and Microsoft's were a little dull, as if they didn't want to be there. And if he had to choose, he'd say Microsoft, just because they have a new console and he's always behind new hardware. At CT_blog said Mario, Kirby, and 2 Metroid games. We forgot to mention Kirby. Yeah, that's coming up as well. I'm pretty psyched. Nintendo came out swinging. And Big Screen Pod said, they're our friends. I didn't follow much, but that Spider-Man PS4 gameplay was dope. I was mad when it said 2018. I need that game now. At Thing Beats Thing said 2 words, Shaq Fu. I don't know about that.
Shaq Fu is coming. You guys, that's real. You know that, right?
Yeah, whatever. Try not to say it. At Klex, if I don't say it, it won't happen. If I don't acknowledge it.
No, it's happening. I'm getting a free copy because I bought a gimped version of NBA Playgrounds for the Switch. And they said anybody who buys it before this patch they released, they're giving you a free copy of Shaq Fu. I was like, yes! There it is.
At Klex303 said, new Xbox looks cool, but they keep getting price beat by Sony. Yeah, we talked about that. Also, Sony's game lineup is still stronger than Microsoft's. Yes, Sony, fantastic games. Nintendo, fantastic games. Microsoft is not doing that great. Any other things before we move on? Because E3 was huge. That was a lot of time. And let us know in whatever on iTunes. Let us know on Twitter. Let us know on Facebook, Instagram, whatever. Do we miss something you're super excited about? Whatever. Do you disagree with anything that we said? Do you not like Tim? Anything? Tweet us. Let's get the conversation started. Is there any other stuff we want to talk about before that?
There is one more thing. We got an announcement. It's not as specific as we would hope, but over on Bite Size Lemons BSL, we basically focus on Pokemon. And so what they did was they announced that a main title game is coming to the Switch. That's basically all they said about it. But
what is it going to be?
Everyone is kind of shaking in their boots for that, waiting. Is it going to be perfect, or is it going to be the worst one yet?
Worst one yet.
Another reason.
Okay, fair enough. My boots are still...
To get the Switch,
hey, quake in your boots all you want. That's personal.
It's one thing that Nintendo knows how to do really well, though, is they just drop a bomb and with no other details. And they don't apologize for it. That's like the best part is like people will come in back and ask them about it. And they're like, nah, we told you about it. It's happening. We'll get it there. And some point you'll know about it.
Yeah.
They know how to steer a hype train. Like Alpha Sapphire and then Omega Ruby. I couldn't keep up with that hype train. That game was out before I even knew what was happening.
All right, so on to the main topic. This week's topic, we were talking about heroes. We did our villains episode. This time we're going to put heroes together and see who is the best of the best heroes. So, what do you got?
Oh, this is a competition?
Not always. I mean, everything's a competition. So it's not like they're going to be fighting, but we're going to be talking about who is the best in a very, very weird, subjective, drilled down to the weirdest part sort of way.
Because if this was a battle, every single one of my characters is dead.
I'm gonna let's talk about what makes a good hero. I guess for anything, what do you like about a hero or somebody or main protagonist that shows heroic traits? Why do you like your heroes, or why do you like them for a specific way? Just generally,
I think they got to be normal. Like I think they have to have fear and vulnerability. And I think that they need to be people and have family and friends and people that they interact with and threats to those families. And you know, like that's so I think that translates into real life as well as in comic books and in movies. When you have someone that is threatened and they are vulnerable and yet they still act in a way that is quote unquote heroic or selfless, that's a hero. You know, like I think one of my least favorite heroes is Superman because his only weakness is an allergy to some green gem, and that's about it, unless they really want to write him poorly, and then he gets the snot kicked out of him by like Wonder Woman's bracelets or something.
But you see, on that note that you're talking about, I think too much of that kind of takes it away from me, because as much as I love Harry Potter and I love the whole everything about it, Harry Potter really wasn't that great of a hero to me, and I'm going to come out and say it, he had a ton of other people helping him. He had a whole slew of people that would have been better in his role, and all these other people that do, give you that emotional pull and all these other things. And reading the books makes it see he was just too much of a teenager, and that's good on J.K. Rowling that he was too good of being, a fictional teenager and being sassy and being really awkward and stuff. And that's why I think that was too much. I don't know, for me.
So here's the thing with Harry Potter is I think, as somebody who read through the whole series as it was going on, and was involved in Harry Potter message boards to try and predict upcoming books and stuff like that. I think everybody in the Harry Potter fan base was waiting for that moment when he was going to show his special ability.
Yeah.
Something that he inherently had that other people didn't have, some skill, some prowess in magic that other people didn't have. Not the lightning bolt, Kevin, I can see you.
What about I feel like he in a big way is the chosen one. Like that's a massive part of it.
He was the chosen one, but even the way he was chosen, it wasn't like a prophetic thing. Yep. Voldemort essentially made that choice. It could have been him or Neville Longbottom. And Voldemort identified him for whatever reason. So there was a lot that went into it, but I think that power, that thing never happened. Ultimately, what allowed him to defeat Voldemort was A, courage, which he did have as a human trait, but B, Voldemort's choice to mark him as the chosen one. And the way that he, his mother sacrificed, again, it was somebody else's help, the way his mother sacrificed him for him, that allowed him to become the Horcrux, and that's what allowed him to ultimately defeat him. You know what I mean? Like, it was no special ability that he had. It was just a little bit of human courage, and everybody was waiting for something more to come of that, and it never did, but that made it better for me in the long run, because he is a true hero. He is no better than anybody else. He's, not as skilled as other people in many, many cases, right, but he shows the strength of character and courage to make the right decision at the right time to do the right thing, which is the antithesis.
And that's exactly my point. Especially in Zack Snyder's Superman, he's bulletproof. He's too squeaky clean. And I just don't identify with that. I don't think that a lot of DC's characters, Superman especially, have a real place in this world, in movies now, in stories now, the way that they were originally conceived. I think that much like Marvel is doing, you need to update it. Captain America is dirty. Iron Man is dirty. And that's Marvel takes place in real cities. DC takes place in fictional cities. And I just think that all of their characters show that. In DC, you've got this guy who dresses up like a bat who scares criminals, and he's the best detective, and he's this and he's that. And you got Superman who wears his underwear on the wrong side, and he's bulletproof, and he's got a girlfriend and a secret identity because no one can tell he's wearing glasses.
The big problem with Superman, I think, I totally agree with everything you're saying about him. I'm not a big fan of Superman, and the reason is that he's supposed to be perfect, and the counterbalance to that is that he can't always be perfect. He can't save everyone, blah, blah, blah. And that's not communicated well in any of the DC movies or most Superman comics.
And so they do these weird things where his power level fluctuates, or, in one comic, he can literally fly back in time, and that's a new thing we never heard of. And then he's doing that, or another example would be The Flash. So you've got this guy who in some comics is so fast and has such specific control over his speed that he can vibrate his molecules fast enough that he can sort of sift them through solid matter. Great. And then a dude with a gun that shoots an icicle takes him down. What are you doing? I'm out. I can't follow you on this.
People forget their superpowers.
But that's the problem with having too big a superpower, or having, relying too much on superpowers to be a hero, is that it's hard to define what is and what isn't possible within the, constructs of what they can do. So when you have a hero that's built off of, a more normal, grounded human thing, it's easier to define what makes them heroic and what they're capable of and what they have to overcome to get there.
Yeah. I mean, you see some of that fluctuation in other comics, too. I'm not just picking on Superman. Like Spider-Man, his strength flows and ebbs, but I think he's a more human character. I love him. I think Spider-Man is flawed deeply, and I think he loves too much sometimes. And, granted, I hate a lot of what they do with comic books specifically, and taking away love interests and marrying things off and alternate universes and no continuity. But at its core, characters like Spider-Man are great because they're just people who happen to have the strength and agility of a spider, and he can, for some reason, make a web fluid that shoots webs in whatever format he needs. But his basis is a normal dude.
So who are we throwing? Anybody want to throw somebody into the ring, and we'll talk about it and talk about why that's a good hero, why we disagree or anything? Anybody want to just throw one person out and let's see what we think?
I think Spider-Man's up there for one of the best, because that trope that Superman falls under, Peter Parker learns that literally in his origin story. I mean, he has great power. I mean, and he loses one of the things that is closest to him, even though, because he's arrogant and he has this new power and he lets the guy go, but he's supposed to do the right thing and he loses one of the things that's closest to him because of it.
So Spider-Man.
And that's a great hero story. Mm-hmm. Spider-Man's up there for me, yeah. Spider-Man
is my favorite. My wife hates Spider-Man. Spider-Man is my favorite superhero. I do like the concept of Batman. I like the concept of Flash, but I hate the way that they're always depowering them to make it threatening for them and all of that. But,
See, I like Batman. I like Batman because Batman was a tormented soul. He has a lot to overcome from a personality standpoint. And yes, he has billionaire resources, but essentially he's just a dude. So there's a lot that it takes for him, a lot of commitment, a lot of desire to be the superhero that he is. So I like Batman, actually.
I like Batman a lot, but the problem I have with him is that he's an unhealthy role model for young men, I think, because he broods and he never lets anything out and he never talks to anyone. And even as Bruce Wayne, I think something for me that makes a great hero is the vulnerability. And Batman, while he is physically vulnerable compared to like Superman or Wonder Woman or Martian Manhunter, he's kind of a stone statue that's in the DC universe, which is, I mean, fine, but there's not a lot of relatability in that for me personally.
No, exactly.
But it depends on how they present that, though, in terms of him not being a good role model. Because I think being a role model is different from being someone that people can learn lessons from. And the fact is that typically that brooding and obsession and all that kind of stuff is what ultimately hurts him and hurts the people around him. So it helps you learn that you need to get past those things. That your past pain can motivate you in certain ways, but that you need to learn how to express and get past those things in order to be a functional human being, and in order to be the best human being that you can be. So I think Batman teaches a lot of lessons. It's a very complicated character, a very complex character, and I think that's one of the things that I like about it. He's so imperfect in so many ways. Through all that, a desire to do good, a desire to be committed to that task is admirable and something worth, repeating in your own life and things of that nature. So.
And I mean, Wonder Woman is the most recent version of that. Same type of thing where she's got that need to help humanity and it drives her forward. And you have some of that growth, you have some of that vulnerability in that she can be hurt. Even she will heal from it because she is a god, but she doesn't know that to start, and she still wants to save humanity, and it's not her problem, but she makes it her problem.
Yeah, the Wonder Woman of this movie would definitely go on my list.
Yeah,
for sure.
I think so.
Definitely.
Absolutely.
But I think if I had to choose, I think I would choose Spider-Man over Batman just because he does seem more human in going in line with what y'all are saying, that he's this, and again, in some iterations, he's a teenager. In most iterations, he's a teenager, and going through high school
up to a point.
Yeah, going through high school and all that stuff, and they do definitely explore all of that a whole lot. But still going into this whole, he's Spider-Man and he's doing all this stuff. He can do all this other stuff, and he did learn a lesson, and he does, battle his emotions and battle his, choices of things a lot better than Batman, I think. So if I had to choose between Spider-Man and Batman, I would choose Spider-Man. But hasn't come to that yet. We have 3 people: Spider-Man, we have Batman, we have Wonder Woman. They're all superheroes for right now.
I have someone who's not a superhero.
Go for it.
And that's part of why I think she's my favorite hero of all time. And this is just up for discussion. I don't necessarily think she needs to be on the whatever top 10 or whatever. She is Ellen Ripley from the Alien franchise, specifically number 1. Number 3, 4, possibly even 2. Let's not worry
never
about
happened.
That. But yeah, let's hope. But Ellen Ripley is a person that you don't even know is the main character until maybe 3/4 of the way through the film, which is what a hero really is. They sacrifice, and they'll push forward no matter what situation they're in. And you know, that whole film franchise, or at least that first one, is an allegory for rape in the 1970s, which was so prevalent. And so for a woman character to be that strong without any powers that can take on this unseeable foe, I think it's a really powerful thing. No, I think she's a great role model for anyone, not just young women, but I think it is important that she is a woman.
No, I think you're right. And I think you're especially right to point out that she's that in the first movie, because in the second movie, the second movie is a totally different movie than the first Alien movie.
Oh, yeah.
Because the first one is a horror movie, and it is a space horror movie. And the way that they turned the tropes on its head, where she is a female and she survives and she's the hero and you know, all of that, great. The second one was an action movie. It was a space war movie. And there's no two ways about that.
And it stands alone. It stands alone on its own in that
absolutely
regard.
Great movie on its own. But it's not the same as the first movie.
Yeah, I totally agree with everything y'all are saying. That's totally cool. And I wouldn't mind her on the top 5 list, especially in that first movie. And all the other ones, maybe not. Somebody that I really enjoy, and that is, I guess, not a superhero, not a human either, is the Doctor from Doctor Who, of course, because I really like Doctor Who. He's just a very complicated person as well, in a different sort of way. He's over 2,000 years old, and he just goes through so many human emotions, and that's what he relates to. That's why he protects the humans the most. He remembers everything that's happened before, all the people that he's had to kill because of things, and he constantly goes into situations where there's not going to be a right answer. There's not going to be something that's going to fix everything. And for a lot of people... But there
always is. No, well, because he always fixes it I know, every time, but for a lot without fail. And he's if he gets hurt, he's going to regenerate. He doesn't show all of these emotions. He's not doing this because of some deep-seated need to save humanity. He's doing this because he's got a character flaw in that he's curious to a fault.
Yeah.
He's trying to just explore, and he knows there's no consequence, and he knows he's going to be fine, and if he dies, he's fine with that too.
I don't
weary.
know. I mean, yes,
I don't know that he's a hero.
On an outsider point of view, yeah, but to him, they all seem very real. And he does teach a lot of people lessons and goes through all these different, situations. Like what I was going to say was that, none of these situations give a right answer, but you do have to make a choice. Like that's always a thing. It's like you have to, and I think because sometimes he makes the wrong choices, I think that's even more a reason to give him a hero status, because he's not completely right all the time.
It's powerful, but I think most of the wrong choices he makes are on purpose because he's also a villain.
You think he makes them on purpose?
I'm dead serious in that. I think that with the Doctor, it's more a matter of perspective. I think if you're anyone else in the universe, you could make the argument that he's a villain, but we're the audience and he's the hero.
Yeah, because they have explored that during David Tennant's run, where it's like he's the oncoming storm, and they did explore sort of that thing where it's like, oh, he comes up and he shows up into my universe, he shows up into my world, and he ruins everything. And it's like, whoa, that was super interesting to see. But overall, he still does have to deal with that. He doesn't want to do that. He just wants to explore, and there's curiosity. It's just he goes on 10 times more adventures than we see. We just see the wrong ones. You know what I mean? I think that's what that is.
No, I get you. I mean, I don't know how many other different powerful heroes there really are out there in the world that are much different than what we've already talked about. I mean, Tim, do you have anything that's better or different than Spider-Man, Batman, Wonder Woman, Ripley, and the Doctor?
Howard Wolowitz.
Okay, so he's been to space. He's a father.
Howard Wolowitz starts out a nerd and about the most reprehensible type of human being as you can be, who is dependent 100% on his mother to guide his life. And he ends up getting into a healthy relationship with a beautiful woman and having a child and living up to the responsibilities of adulthood. And I think that is heroic to us all.
So he's the hero for all the nerds everywhere. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, man.
I'm going to have to make the argument that in Big Bang Theory, we never saw his mother because his mother looks just like his wife, and that would have been too creepy for the audience. And so he's less of a hero and more of just a weird, creepy, living in his parents' basement, but, they've moved the basement upstairs type of nerd.
Sure, ruin the whole thing, Kevin.
Always. Always. That's what I do, Tim.
Alistair, who else do you got on your list, man?
I just have to say that I'm so against the Big Bang Theory as a whole.
Yeah, I'm not.
It destroys me.
But...
It destroys me as a person.
Why?
Well, one time they made a Pokemon reference and it was wrong. That's actually it. That's all. Anyway.
Oh, no.
What a shame.
So, I guess the last one that fits into a different niche than any of the ones we have so far is Newt Scamander from Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them.
So specifically him in that movie. I guess we didn't really have a whole lot more to play off of him, but
yeah, it's more of a Wikipedia entry at that point. But in that film is what I'm talking about. He it's implied loosely that he might even be on the autism spectrum because he can interact with people with great difficulty, but he can interact with animals quite easily. And he puts himself in situations that are dangerous to him and to others. He has to overcome his awkwardness and shyness to make friends. He doesn't have to overcome anything to, fight a giant dragon thing. Not really fight it, but capture it. I think it's really commendable that they had such a simple male character that didn't have a big gun or wasn't chosen by an evil wizard or wasn't somehow marked by anyone, but instead had to save his friends. And at the end, when the big monster thing, they have to kill it. And his only regret in the entire film is that he couldn't save the worst thing that is happening to him. And I think that's incredibly commendable. And I think it's a great representation of an alternative masculinity that's not really found in comics or movies, a la Superman, Batman, everyone who could punch a hole in you. But Newt Scamander struggles with other things like making eye contact.
Yeah, sure.
I identify with that, and it ticks all the boxes I brought up for being a superhero. Dude is super vulnerable and overcomes it. Not only that, but he's got his own shit going on. He's got attachments to maybe not people as much as animals. Yeah, I'm in.
The biggest problem I have with him, though, is the majority of the problems that started in that movie were purely a result of his carelessness. So he kind of brought a lot of that stuff on himself. So that's like my only nitpicky thing there. But from a character standpoint, yeah, I mean, he hits all those marks. And J.K. Rowling writes that character really well. Even Harry Potter isn't that masculine hero character either. And not many of the characters that she writes are. She does a really good job, I think, of identifying with guys who are modern, in their nature and how they act and how we should act as gentlemen in the world.
Totally agree.
Yeah, absolutely.
Do we have any bad heroes? Do we have any super just what the fuck that y'all can think of? I know
in
that
what
wasn't
way?
the thing,
What do you mean?
But I don't know. What came to mind this week, because I was thinking about it, and I was thinking Master Chief from the Halo gaming series. I was thinking everybody loves this dude, but he's just really bad and in the right universe. He's just kind of the hero of this thing because you're this badass, faceless, no emotion, whatever, and they kind of try to get him more to be a human as he went along, but it's really just faceless sort of suit. This guy looks super cool. He's gonna fuck some shit up, and that's about it. I'm a fan of the gaming series, but him as a person...
I mean, I was going to bring up Punisher and Venom for the same reasons, but I mean, I don't know. I just don't think that they're heroic for the right reasons, and Master Chief is just doing what he's doing because that's what he does.
Yeah, I
no
think,
other reason.
I think someone who's done something good in their life before is not necessarily a hero.
Like, what do you mean?
Like, they have good qualities, like Venom one time saved a lady from being crushed by a building, or he became Agent Venom and started working for good, but he is a monster built out of rage to kill another human being. I don't think he's anti-hero, maybe, but it really depends on the writer and, you know.
I just totally forgot about this. An anti-hero that I thought of was Deadpool, because he is sort of relatable as well, that we can put on there, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, he's different, definitely.
he's different, yeah, but I think for a lot of it, he has some good intentions. Maybe.
But I mean, this is a good thing, though. Like, we have a list of really 10 or so different heroes that are all different. I feel like in the villains episode we did, they were all sort of the same. They were bad, they were greedy, they were stupid, and they were just power hungry. But in this, we got Spider-Man, Wonder Woman, Ripley, Batman, the Doctor, Howard Wolowitz, Newt Scamander, Master Chief, and Deadpool. You can't find a more diverse cast anywhere. I want to see this
Harry
movie.
Potter. I did nominate
and Harry Potter.
Yeah.
Don't forget about Harry Potter. And Peter Pan.
Peter Pan is a villain.
Oh, God.
So anyway...
Yeah, Peter Pan's the villain.
Peter Pan's basically
Pan's
a
the
murderer.
villain.
I mean...
Tim, we'll have to watch Hook together sometime. I'll point it out to you. Don't you worry.
Okay, let's do that.
Every time he does something terrible, you take a shot.
Yeah, the whole commentary.
We'll
probably
be drunk 10 minutes in.
That's probably what I'll be doing during the Hook commentary. Just, Jesus,
Too funny.
Kill me now.
So having brought that up again, we are so close to being able to do that for our Patreon, patreon.com/nerdythingspod, if you want to become a patron and make us do that.
And we have extra stuff on there. We have a lot of extra stuff and more stuff coming.
New stuff every week.
Who else can we nominate into this pool of a great movie that I would love to see?
I don't really think we need much more unless someone has something. Tim, you got one more?
Nope.
Alistair, you got one more?
I think we've got our bases covered.
Yeah.
Cool.
Unless Jules, unless you had something else.
They're so different. I don't know how we could rank these people.
That's true.
It's easier with the villains.
I don't think we need to rank
Yeah.
them.
No, I don't think we do. I think at top 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yeah, I think 10.
Wow. Yeah.
So it's Master Chief, Harry Potter, Spider-Man, Batman, Wonder Woman, Ripley, Doctor Who, Howard Wolowitz, Newt Scamander, and Deadpool.
Can we put Harry Potter on the at number 10 for the list we're not ranking, please? Thank you.
Yeah, sure.
So
fine.
those are our heroes.
But yeah, listeners, tell us how wrong we are.
Please, who's your favorite
Let us
hero
know.
and why is Master Chief your favorite hero? Please let us know at Nerdy Things Pod on Twitter and all that good stuff. Alistair, thank you for joining us. Where can they find you? And where can they go
Thank
listen
you,
to your
Alistair.
podcast?
You can email the show at thebslpodcast@gmail.com. You can also find us on iTunes and SoundCloud. Just look up Bite-Sized Lemons. I blame John for the name. And on most social media. So
Very cool. So you can go check out his podcast if you are super mad that we never talk about Pokemon. They talk about Pokemon. They have some cool stuff, Trinket Tuesdays all the time on their Facebook. So go check them out and go listen to their podcast as well if you're a fan of podcasts and a fan of nerdy stuff. So I'd like to thank Adipsia for the use of his song Friends Don't Let Friends Go to TGI Fridays. You can find him on adipsia.bandcamp.com, and he just released an album called The Stoic, and you can find that there.
The Stoic.
On cue, yeah. Adipsia SA on SoundCloud, and he just released some new songs as well.
Very nice.
So, yeah, I mean, go follow us on all the stuff. Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, at Nerdy Things Pod. Go subscribe, leave us a review, and all that. And we'll see you next time.
Sounds good.
Later.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Hi, my name's Paul, and I'm one half of the new podcast Two Brothers Talk Games. A podcast where me and my mate, we talk about games, pop culture, podcasts, you name it. If it's nerdy, we're into it. Now that you've finished listening to this awesome podcast, how about popping over to iTunes, Google Play, or Stitcher and searching for Two Brothers Talk Games and give us a listen too. Cheers.